Hello everyone, happy Saturday. Welcome back to Clues by Sam. Saturday is almost over to me because it is really late. I spent the day doing a whole lot of moving furniture around my house, so I had a lot to do and I am tired. But I wanted to talk about yesterday. I didn't post yesterday's solve because I had a lot of trouble with the footage. It ended up being unusable, but I had a really good time solving the puzzle yesterday, and I had a really nice talk at the end of the video where I was talking about because yesterday I did get a yellow in the puzzle, and it was absolutely my fault where I didn't consider the people who are on the edges um correctly, and I ended up trying somebody other than the person that I should try to make a criminal. And it happened that I had sort of a immediate reaction to feel like Clues by Sam was like I had the first Clues by Sam bug find ever, where maybe the logic was not correct in the puzzle. Like, it was not the first time it happened to me. It has happened to me in the past, especially when you begin doing Clues by Sam. When you're a beginner, you get a lot of these moments where you feel like your logic is so sound and you're surely correct, and you can't see why that wouldn't be correct. Then you end up, if you stick to it, you end up finding out that the puzzle was actually right and you missed something, or you overlooked something, or maybe you didn't consider a specific scenario. So it was one of those times, and it hadn't happened for a long time, but I felt that it was really interesting to see my reaction to it because I didn't mention when it happened, but I caught myself while it happened, and I was able to notice that I was feeling that and sort of recalibrate and look at the puzzle and think about how could I have overlooked something. And it took me some time, but surely enough, I noticed that the issue was that I wasn't looking at the people on the edges who had criminals above them. I was looking at criminals who were on the edges. So I was reading the clue on sort of like I read the clue correctly, but I did a misinterpretation of it. And I talked a lot about how it's very important that we as people are able to evolve this skill where you're able to look at yourself and your behavior and analyze it and not instantly react to it, and not instantly react to what you're feeling and what you're thinking, because it may not be true, even though you're feeling very confident in your logic and you are feeling wronged by the situation. It's so very important to not instantly react to it. And I feel like this teaching is becoming ever so more important nowadays, every single day, because it's a sort of behavior pattern that we have, many people have, and it is taught through the generations, and we have to just learn to not act like that. It's so very important to look at ourselves and our reactions and understand that although they may feel right when they are instinctive, we are able to sort of calm ourselves down, regulate, and react in a more appropriate and more effective way when we look at the situation with a little more patience. So it's important to know that your first thought isn't always the right thought, and it is going to be there. You are going to feel flustered, you may feel wronged, you may feel angry, you may feel confused, but if you don't give in to that first instinct and you don't let it take over you, you are probably going to have a better time and a more effective time by reading the situation a little better, taking some time to assess it, and look at different points of view, asking yourself and other people, if needed, to look at the situation and try to find the gaps that you missed. So yeah, it's really weird that I'm talking about this now because it has no context, but I hope it was enough. And it's so important also in relationships and in day-to-day communication to apply those skills. So when we are playing these puzzles, we are not essentially just learning skills that we are going to use for playing more of the same puzzle. We are learning real life skills. And it's so important to me that we all share this and put examples of how to behave when that happens. So that's why I'm really sad that I don't have the footage to show you and I couldn't post the video. But I'm sure it's going to happen again and I'm going to be able to reference it again. So I hope you guys can enjoy and appreciate this one, where I've seen people talk about it, and it's a hard that's supposedly not as hard. But if you need help, I'm gonna be here to help you, and I promise you, I'm not gonna react in a flustered manner if I do get a yellow. I can't promise a perfect solve. No, I can't. But we're gonna try to do that, and you can play along with me by clicking the link in the description. I'm gonna start mine right now. We start with Paul, telling us that Chase is one of two innocents above Wanda. So Chase here is the first person in column C, and he's an innocent. There's another 3 people who are above Wanda also in column C, so Wanda is the last person in that column, and one more of the 3 people above her besides Chase is going to be an innocent. Chase then says that both criminals in row 4 are connected. So Paul is in row 4. And he's not a criminal. So that means that the other 3 people in row 4 have to have 2 criminals among them, and both of them have to be connected. Now, Steve has to be one of those because he's the only one connected to any of the others who could be criminals. So he is mandatorily, is that a word? One of the 2 criminals. And now we don't need Chase's clue because we can tag Kita and Tina with the same color to indicate that they are gonna be one a criminal and the other one an innocent. Whichever one is one makes the other one the other. Steve then says that column C is the only column with exactly 2 innocents. So column C here, oh yeah, we knew that there's 2 innocents above Wanda, so Steve's one of them, the criminals, and either Nicole or Ivan is the second one, and the other is going to be the second innocent, so we tag them as opposites as well. Now, if we know that there's 2 innocents total in column C and they are both above Wanda, that makes Wanda a criminal. And now Wanda says that one of the 5 criminals on the edges is Umar's neighbor. So Umar has 2 people on the edges neighboring him, Paul, who is not a criminal, and Vince. So Vince has to be the criminal. And there is a total of 5 criminals on the edges, of which we know about 2 currently. So Vince then says that 2 innocents below Betsy are neighboring Nicole. So Nicole has 3 people neighboring her below Betsy, but we still don't know who they are. What's important here is that we know from Steve that column C is the only column with 2 innocents, and the people neighboring Nicole below Betsy are in column B. So if we have 2 people here in column B who are innocents and neighboring Nicole, we have to have a 3rd innocent in column B so that it doesn't end up with 2 innocents. So that makes Betsy the only person not neighboring Nicole, the 3rd innocent. And we can tag the 3 neighboring Nicole, so we leave that clue there. Now, Betsy says that Wanda has 1 innocent neighbor, and that innocent neighbor is going to be in the pair here in row 4, Kita or Tina, because they are opposites and both of them neighbor Wanda. So that makes Zola here not an innocent, even though she neighbors Wanda. And I don't need Betsy's clue anymore. So Zola says that 1 clerk has a criminal directly to the left of them. There's 3 clerks. If we double click the clue here, we see all 3 of them bunched together here. We have Ivan and Janet in row 2 and Olivia in row 3. And one of them has a criminal to the left of them. So left. Let's make sure we know what left is. And to the left of Ivan, we have Gunny. And to the left of Janet, we have Ivan. But the thing is, to the left of Olivia, we have Nicole, who is opposite with Ivan. So, Janet and Olivia, who are both clerks in column D, are going to have each of them one of the opposite pair that is here in column C. So that makes one criminal to their left. And that's our total clerks with criminals to their left. So that makes Ivan not have a criminal to his left. Now we know that Martin and Kita are going to be opposites because there's two instance neighboring Nicole here. And Martin and Kita are the other two people besides Gunny, who is an innocent. Now I don't need Zola's clue anymore. Gunny gives us a clue. Each row has at least one innocent. So row 5 needs one. That has to be Umar. Who says that there's an odd number of innocents neighboring Clay, who is right here in column A. And Clay has 5 people neighboring him, 2 of which are already innocents reviewed. We have one more innocent who's not yet reviewed, but it's shared with Nicole here in column B. So that's 3. And then Clay has one more neighbor, Ethan. So if Ethan ends up being an innocent, then Clay ends up with 4 innocents, which is an even number. That makes Ethan have to be a criminal then, so that Clay doesn't end up with 4 innocents. Ethan then says that 4 people on the edges have a criminal directly to the right of them. Ooh, that's the same type of clue that got me yesterday, so maybe I'm paying more attention to it because of that. But we're talking about people on the edges. It doesn't matter what they are. It could be a criminal, it could be an innocent, but 4 people on the edges have a criminal to the right of them. Who are the people on the edges? All of the people in row 1, all of the people in row 5, and all of the people in columns A and D. So if 4 of them have criminals to the right of them, and we know that nobody in column D has anybody to their right, then all of these people here in column D are removed from the equation. Let's look at the other people on the edges. We have Wanda, who has a criminal to her right. Vince, who has a criminal to his right, so that's 2. Umar, even though he's an innocent, has also a criminal to his right, so that's 3. Now, Betsy and Chase don't. Amy is not gonna have a criminal to her right because Betsy is an innocent. It could be that Chase has Donna. As a criminal. But one thing that we gotta think about as well is that Ethan, oh, not Ethan, but we have 4 criminals already on the edges, right? So Ethan, Vance, Wanda, and Zola. So this is an interesting sort of mashup of clues that we have to make. Let's think about if Donna is a criminal. That's good. Why is that good? It makes column D have 3 instances, which has to happen so that we don't have 2 columns with 2 instances, because we know that only column C has 2. And it makes Amy and Clay both instances, which is also good for the same reason, but because we have 5 innocents, 5 criminals on the edges. That's what happens to both of those columns. Now, Amy couldn't be a criminal, right? Because if she is a criminal, then everybody else on the edge is an innocent. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing I did yesterday. I'm looking at criminals on the edges and not criminal to the right of people who are on the edges. So that's not the next step. Not the next step. Don't do that. But so what do I have to do? Hmm? Hmm. 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 I'm looking again at the people on the edge who have criminals to the right. We have Wanda, Vincent, Umar, that's 3. And we're gonna have either Paul or Clay, so that's 4. So that means that Donna is not a criminal because 4 is our total people on the edges who have criminals to the right of them. And either Clay or Paul are gonna. So it is exactly the same scenario that happened yesterday. So it's good. It's good. My segue worked perfectly fine. Because I did the exact same thing yesterday. I was looking at people on the edge who were criminals and were on top of somebody. I shouldn't say that. People on the edges who were criminals and were above somebody. So I ignored the people who were right here, and there was going to be one criminal here who was above somebody who was on the edge, and the people below them were both innocents. So I ignored the people below them. But today we have exactly the same thing. And that's tricky for people who are not paying attention. So it's important to have that in mind when you're counting. Once again, Wanda has a criminal to her right, so that's 1. Vince has a criminal to his right, so that's 2. And even though Umar is not a criminal, he has a criminal to his right, so that's 3. And the important thing about Clay and Paul here is that it doesn't matter that the people who are to their right are on the edge or not. It doesn't matter if they are on the edge or not. What matters is that Clay and Paul both are on the edge, and one of them for sure is going to have a criminal to their right because both of the people to their rights are opposites. So that's our 4 people on the edges who have a criminal to the right of them. And that makes Donna, I hope you understand, innocent because she is to the right of somebody who is on the edge as well. And we don't have to care about Janet, Olivia, or Tina because even though they are on the edge, they don't have anybody to their rights. And Amy is not to the right of anybody, so it doesn't matter if she's a criminal. Actually, yeah, it doesn't matter. Now I'm sort of afraid that I'm going to make a similar mistake again without paying attention, so it's good that I have double the attention. Donna says then that only one person in a corner has exactly one criminal neighbor in a corner. So Donna is in a corner, Amy is in a corner, and all of Amy's neighbors are already revealed, and she has only one criminal neighbor. So she's the person Donna's referring to, which makes Umar here in the lower left corner have to have a second criminal neighbor because currently he also only has one. So Kita has to be the second criminal neighbor, and since she's opposite with Martin, that makes Martin an innocent. Kita was also opposites with Tina, so Tina becomes an innocent. Now, Kita says, I guess we do need Donna's clue because it could be that Ivan and Janet become a pair, or have to be reminded to not become a pair. Kita says there are 3 innocents in the corners, and currently we only have 2, and there's only 1 corner left. So Amy has to be the 3rd innocent, and she says there are as many innocent judges as there are innocent pilots. So we double click the clue to see all the judges and all the pilots. There's 3 judges and 2 pilots. Uma, Vince, and Tina are all judges, and Clay and Paul are pilots. So 2 pilots are it's as many innocent judges as innocent pilots. So we have all of the judges revealed, and 2 of them are innocents, which means that both of the pilots have to be innocents as well. That now makes Janet and Olivia opposites because we know there has to be 1 more criminal on the edge. So there's only these 2 left on the edge. And Clay says there are more innocents in row 3 than row 4, which has 2 innocents. So row 3 has to have 3 or 4, which is more than 2. And it couldn't have 3, because if it does have 3, if only one of Nicole and Olivia is a criminal and the other one is an innocent, that makes Donna end up with only 1 criminal neighbor, and Donna is in a corner. So then she would conflict with Amy being the only person in the corner who has only 1 criminal. So that means that both people in row 3 have to be innocent. So that's Nicole and Olivia, which makes both Ivan and Janet criminals, and we are done the puzzle. Very nice. I like that the segue ended up working. It took me a long time there because I stopped to explain the whole situation. But like I always say, I don't care that much for time. I just want you guys to be able to really understand the logic and how important it is to make sure the scenarios are not interfering with each other. So I just love Clues by Sam so much. That's why I play it every day. Try to play it every day here on the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys tomorrow for more. Bye bye.